Community in Action. For those of you who do not know, Martin Luther King Jr. Leadership Steering Committee is a political action organization, but we also are a civil rights organization, and certainly always concerned about those issues that affect all of the family of Portsmouth. As we stand before you, we have a multiplicity of unanswered questions that the city management team, nor the Chief of Police, Angela Green, have yet to answer. Question 1, what influences was behind the decision to arrest 18 members of our Portsmouth family, including the President Pro Tem of the Virginia State Senate, Senator Louise Lucas? Secondly, Chief Green, how did you go from having a conflict following the events on June 10th to not having a conflict at the time when the warrants were processed at the magistrate's office? Thirdly, what was the response from the Virginia State Police as well as the FBI when they were called on to investigate the matters concerning the Confederate monument in the downtown Portsmouth area? I think we have the answer to this question. There was nothing to investigate, and an unfortunate accident had taken place, and that was it. We stand before you today to make it known that we will fight with and for each person who is singled out unfairly. In the words of Dr. Martin Luther King, a threat to justice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Now let me say this. In this mix, the Portsmouth Police Department, under the leadership of Chief Angela Green, has thrown State Senator Louise Lucas into the mix. Senator Lucas was there for a brief period at the early part of the day, and then she left to go home. We are suspect. We have seen this movie before. When you can't recall a strong leader, and when you cannot co-opt or control a strong leader, the next step is to use the police department to impugn their character, make them look like they have committed a crime. We have seen this movie before. Dr. Mark Whitaker was made to look like he had committed a crime because some people wanted to silence his voice and get him off of the city council. And for the most part, many of us stood by silently and allowed it to happen. But we say on today, in this press conference, not this time. We are calling on the city manager, Dr. Lydia Patton, to request the immediate resignation of Chief Angela Green. Loudly, we are calling on the Virginia State Police to conduct an investigation into the Portsmouth Police Department. And we are calling also on the Commonwealth Attorney, Stephanie Morales, to do all that she can do to use her influence to throw all of these arrests out so that it does not see the light of day in any courtroom. And let me serve notice as leader of Martin Luther King Jr. Leadership Steering Committee and Church and Community in Action that we will not stand idly by and watch persons of authority, people that we have elected, supported, and put our voice behind. We will not stand by to allow them to recuse themselves this time. We want them to stand up, take responsibility, and throw this mess out so that it does not rise up against anybody in this life nor the life to come. It is as simple as that. That is our position. We are concerned. It's interesting to me that a strong voice such as Senator Lucas, who's being effective and influential in changing policy in this state, you have put her in the mix in addition to our school board member, in addition to the president of our NAACP, along with his officers. We're saying, no, we're not going to tolerate it. No crime was committed. Let's throw this thing out. Let's move forward. We are making the city of Portsmouth look bad. And therefore, the community of Portsmouth, African Americans and others, will not stand by to allow this to happen. At this time, we have other speakers. At this time, the Honorable Costello Williams will come, and she's going to read a statement that has been sent to us by our senior pastor, Reverend Dr. Joe B. Fleming, and then Reverend Dr. Kevin Turner will come and share as well.
Thank you. And this is sent from Reverend Joe B. Fleming, the founding member of the Martin Luther King Leadership Steering Committee. Dated today, to members of the Martin Luther King Steering Committee, supporters of Senator the Honorable Louise Lucas, those who are indicted for getting into good trouble. We have traveled this road time and time again. The characters are different, but the system is the same. We have been working overtime for almost 40 years through the political process, and we must admit that we have made unbelievable strides. Unfortunately, the ugly head of racism keeps raising its head to say we don't matter. Whenever we see the need to say something, we shall speak. Moreover, when the move is made to intimidate, threaten, bully, or silence our state senator, Louise Lucas, our NAACP president, James Boyd, the vice president, Louis Gibbs, and Lakeisha Atkinson on the school board, and all the other members of the NAACP. We shall speak up and we shall act. Senator Lucas is one of the best gifts given to Portsmouth. In more than 30 years as a community organizer, city council member, and state senator, Senator Lucas has excelled and served each position with distinction, integrity, and excellence. We shall not be quieted by a citizen from Virginia Beach who sells guns to anybody in Norfolk and wants to patrol to be a lawman in the city of Portsmouth. To him, I say, stay in your lane. We shall improve Portsmouth, even if our city leaders think we are too anxious to wait. We want to breathe. We must breathe. We shall breathe. We don't need retreads filling leadership positions. We must remain vigilant. We need to continue and stay united. When you mess with our Senator Louise Lucas and other community leaders, you must face all of us, because we are all in this together. We shall not give up, and what we have gained in 40 years, our struggle is constant, and we applaud you for making good trouble. Pastor Joe B. Fleming.
We often concern ourselves with the what. Never lose sight on the why. Why do we stand up and say the monument must come down? Why is it that they're attacking our leaders? Mama told me this a long time ago.
Go ahead.
That if you want to know a person, walk a mile in their moccasins. I think it's time for members of this community to walk a mile in the moccasins of our foreparents and all of our descendants who now call America home. As you walk in those moccasins, you will travel down a road of legitimized forced labor, inhumane lynchings, brutal rape, merciless murder to fuel a slave economy. Laws, legislations, and codes were passed to institutionalize one of the worst forms of inhumanity to humanity that has ever been known in this world. Deeply entrenched in this sordid history is the sight of the Confederate monument in downtown Portsmouth. Complicitous support of these inhumane acts of violence, viciousness, and vulgarity includes the strategic display and placement of Confederate flags in the monuments that we have downtown. It hurts to see the veneration, glorification, and seemingly deification of men who, by our own legal and judicial standards, today would be imprisoned and executed by capital punishment. To be fair to these treasonous pre- and post-war criminals, I tried to walk a mile in the moccasins of their ancestors, the Confederates. I asked myself, what if my foreparents bought and sold people like cattle? What if my foreparent, who is in the name of conditioning, beat another human being until their flesh was permanently marred, or worse, till life left their body? What if my foreparent that exploited a race of people for centuries only so that I can experience privilege? What if my foreparent, who further intimidated, terrorized the race of people by restricting their freedom to read, to travel, and to keep their legitimate families? I wouldn't have to walk alone in those moccasins before I called a spade a spade. I would see evil for what it was. I would see it, and I would not build a monument of indignity or distress. I would not bleach the history by calling it a necessary evil. I would not be disingenuous or disguising it and calling it states' right. I would see the acts and the actions as abhorrent, reprehensible, disgraceful, disgusting, wrong, inexcusable, unacceptable, and evil. So then again, I ask the question, why do we do it? It was on the James River some 200 years ago. A guy named Willie Lynch says you keep them in their place. Y'all don't mind me just reading something that he said, did he? He said, take the meanest and the most restless nigger. Strip him of his clothes in front of the remaining male niggers, the female and the nigger infant. Tar and feather him. Tie each leg to a different horse, faced in opposite direction. Set him on fire. Beat both horses to pull him apart in front of the remaining nigger. The next step is to take a bullwhip and beat the remaining nigger male to the point of death in front of the female and the infant. Don't kill him, but put the fear of God in him, for he can be useful for breeding. You know what they said they want to do? They don't mind him being leading, but you just got to do what we say. They want him or her to be in a position that they still control, that they got body and leadership, but not the mind. Can I just tell you? Not anymore. Can I just tell you? Not anymore. Not this time. We gonna respect our senators, because not this time. We respect our members of NAACP, because not this time. We respect our leaders on the school board, on city council, and they need to know not this.
We will now have expressions from our Vice Mayor Louise Lucas.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for your show of leadership and support of all of our members who were arrested on that ungrateful day. This is not just about my mother, Senator Louise Lucas. It's about everybody who has been here supporting our city in all of the issues that matter. This is not really just about the monument. This is about the rise of the black woman that has happened with Kamala Harris in our office today. And even though people try to stop us and they try to silence our voice, there will be many more black women who will rise up behind us and come and support us. I'm upset And it's not just because it's my mother, it's because I'm a member of the Portsmouth City Council. And I came on the council in 2016 thinking that I could make a difference in working with a group of people who I didn't understand. But I have learned to understand them today because if it wasn't their way, then there was no way. And I've learned that even more today. And as we begin this election cycle, I hope that you take a look at all of the candidates. Those who have been lukewarm, spew them out of your mouth because we don't need that kind of leadership. We need somebody who's going to stand up for the issues that impact our communities, that's going to give us greater rise. And when I received the letter from our city manager today, and I posted it on my Facebook page, you can go there and you find it, and the city manager knew nothing about it, and the city attorney knew nothing about it, and nobody knows nothing about it, then who's running the goddamn city? Nobody knows nothing. So I'm calling. Hey, I am my mama's daughter. I am my mama's daughter. I apologize to my preachers. Okay? All right. But I'm upset. I'm angry because I want some answers. Because when we were asking for answers for Chief Chapman, we couldn't get no answers when it was Chief Chapman. We couldn't get any answers because it was all a personnel matter, or it wasn't our business to know. But now that it's not someone else, we getting all kind of information that we still really don't know. So I call for an investigation into this matter because we need to know. We need to know who is leading this charge, because as of this day, I have not gotten a return from any city council member on the city council other than my colleague Shannon Glover to say that what's going on. Any other time they respond to emails just like that, giving an answer, giving a response, but nobody has said anything in 48 hours regarding this atrocity. And I'm upset about it. I'm upset about it because I don't know. And I even stated that I'm glad that we're in a COVID-19 situation where we're not together, because I don't know who to trust, who's sitting beside me. But I know that you know, and I know that you're going to do the right thing. And I thank you for your support, and I am confident that this will be vindicated and that all of them will be set free back to the things that we do, which is make our city a better place for all of us to live.
So if you were sleeping during this press conference, I'm certain that you awoke now. At this time, we're going to hear from our delegate, Attorney Don Scott, who will come and share a few words of expression. Delegate Scott.
First of all, thank you all for coming out in support of everybody who has been charged, unfortunately, in this matter. It's indicative of a city that is in the death throes of losing power. Those in our community who have been voiceless now have a voice, and there are folks who want to keep us backwards. They're trying to figure out why we don't want to celebrate the history of the Confederacy. They're trying to figure out why we don't want to celebrate and venerate people who would have kept us enslaved. That makes no sense. And now what they want to do is do what they've always done, which is weaponize the criminal punishment system against black leadership. Anytime we speak up, they try to take the leaders and make an example of them by making sure they silence the rest of you, because you'll say, oh God, if we do that, look what will happen to them. But we say not this time. Not this time. So we know that the fact that, look at how this thing played out. Today is what, August 19th? This happened June 10th? So now we 70 days later, they decide that they want to bring charges on something that happened 70 days ago. Not only that, somebody should be asking, what were the police doing at that time? They were there the entire time. They were there from the beginning to the end. They should be arresting them damn selves for dereliction of duty. So now they want to point the finger at somebody to hold them accountable. We know for a fact that the city leadership spoke to the NAACP on June 9th and told them that they could cover up those Confederate monuments. And they did that. They negotiated, they said cover them, and they covered them. The next morning, they came out and saw that they had been uncovered by some agitators that are not from our community. That's right. The NAACP then decided to try to cover them again. There were no trespass signs posted. They went up and tried to say, and then the police came over and said, you know what, y'all are trespassing. And they said, why? We've done this yesterday. We talked to the city attorney, we talked to folks, and we can do this. They arrested Louis Gibbs and James Boyd. Yes. That ineptness is what got us where we are now. That's right. They went and they were arrested, and then the community came out in their support. In supporting them, that's when this stuff began. They came back out, and then the police came out, and they were there the entire time. Right. If I come out right now, and I see and if James Boyd punches me in the face right now, all right, and the police are here, they have a duty to do their job. Lisa Lucas Burke can't tell the police, you can't arrest James for punching Dunn in the face. So why are we allowing them to use these excuses? I don't believe in all of the conspiracy theories. Chief Green is doing what she thinks is the right thing to do at this time, and it's wrong, and it's time for her to go. We know for a fact Dr. Patton just put out an email that says, I knew nothing of this. This is the city manager. Not only did she say I knew nothing of this, moreover, and this is very troubling, she said that the chief had revealed to the city attorney that she had a conflict of interest in this matter, and that the Portsmouth Police Department would not be involved or engaged in the investigation of this matter. And now 70 days later, guess who's running the doggone warrant? A Portsmouth Police Department. This paper ain't worth the paper, this writing ain't worth the paper it's written on. It's fraudulent, and as city councilwoman, the vice mayor just said, we need the federal government. We need the federal agents, or the attorney general to come in here and do a thorough investigation of this Portsmouth Police Department. They are extremely corrupt. They have lost their ability to police us. We don't think they care about our community or our concerns. We know that because they've demonstrated that to us right now. They've done it since day one. They've used law enforcement to try to lock up Kenny Wright. They use law enforcement to try to lock up Michael Moore. They use law enforcement to hurt Dr. Whitaker. And now they're trying to use law enforcement to hurt Senator Lucas and all of the other folks here who are just simply protesting to make change in here. Not this time. So we need to follow the documents. The federal government and/or the Attorney General's office needs to subpoena all of her emails, all of her documents that are written, because if the city manager didn't know, somebody knew. But the city manager said she clearly didn't know. This is unprecedented. So we have a chief who said that she had a conflict. She revealed that to the city attorney and said she would be out of it. And then when she didn't get her way, the state police didn't do what she wanted them to do. The feds didn't do what she wanted to do. So she decided that she would take it back and do it this way. We have to understand, we have people that don't live in our community that are trying to make decisions in our community. That's why it's so important. The next step that we have to do, we must vote. And we not must vote, we must vote intelligently. We have to understand that there are several people that are running just because they have my skin tone, y'all. Just because they have that complexion don't mean they have that connection to community. So we need to understand that. So this time we need to not fall for the okie doke. And we need to ask the media to be honest about what's going on. They basically are charging people who they said you can't arrest them. Isn't that some foolishness? That's what our police department has been reduced to. They're spending a lot of energy. They're not out in the South Side patrolling. They're not in Cavalier Manor doing their job. They're not on London Oaks out here. They up here spending all their police energy trying to figure out how they can keep black voices down in a majority black city. Not this time. So at this point, I just want to tell you to stay engaged, stay informed, Stay engaged, stay informed, and you must vote. You must vote. But we are going to beat this case. All these charges will be dismissed against these folks because we know that they're unjust. Thank you.
Once again, we are calling upon an investigation of the Portsmouth Police Department. We're calling upon our city manager to immediately request the resignation of Chief Angela Green. And we are calling upon our Commonwealth Attorney and all others to immediately drop all charges that have been made against the people who have been listed, including our Senator Louise L. Lucas. If there are any questions from the media, we appreciate you being here. If there are any questions that you wish to raise with us before we conclude this moment, maybe one or two questions, we'll take them at this time. Yes.
I'm just wondering if there's anyone here who was charged, and if they'd like to speak.
No, they would not. They would not like to speak because they're under advice from their attorneys. But there are some persons who are here.
Mr. President, what is the role of Stephanie Morales? If you could speak to her, what would you say to her today?
Well, as I understand it, everything in regards to a matter such as this, and of course Delegate Scott perhaps can give even more clarity, that it has to go through her.
We need to be very careful that we don't compromise folks in this matter. We have to trust the process, and we know that in the probable cause summary, there are folks who are trying to make sure that they put in the probable cause summary that the Commonwealth Attorney would be a witness. When, from my understanding, from reading the report, she said she was not there. So we need to let the process play out. We don't want to start getting ahead of ourselves, well then we created conflict. So we don't want to be calling on anybody. Let the process play out. Let everybody do their job, and everything should work out.
Anyone? Yes. Yes.
So you guys have called on the city manager for the resignation of Police Chief Angela Green. What power does city council have if the city manager doesn't take that action you guys have requested?
We can fire her, but except she's leaving December 31st, and so it's no matter to her. So December 31st, which is what, 68 days, she's out anyway. We're in the process of hiring a new city manager. We have consulted with a consulting firm, and I have asked that consulting firm, day one on the new city manager, if we don't fire Angela Green by then, that's the first order of business that I want the new city manager to take up.
Timo? Yes.
Can you tell us how many years old was the statue, and when was the last time it was inspected? Do anyone know?
We do not have the answer to that question.
That part.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Specific date when Senator Lucas and others are supposed to appear in court?
I do not have that information. Say September the 4th? September the 4th. Yes.
Has everyone turned themselves in?
Yes.
Everyone, all 14?
Everyone has turned themselves in.
Okay, and they're all released on.
The cognizance. All right.
One last question. Most of the folks in the committee are ministers or have a spiritual inkling, if you will. With so much racial divide in the city, just wondering, what is your thought to resolve some of this? This stuff seems to loop around again and again and again.
Well, because some things just aren't dead, and so we have to address and deal with these issues as they come, and of course, be upfront and truthful and transparent concerning the issues that affect all of our community. But there are some spirits of racism and that yet still live, and as long as those spirits are yet alive, we're going to have this continuous loop where we're constantly, perpetually dealing with these issues. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to come. Okay, one more question. Okay, sir. Yes, sir.
This one's for Delegate Scott. I just want to
Delegate
make sure I
Scott.
understand what he's saying properly. Were you saying that if police showed up immediately, and I know the NAACP leaders can't talk, but and started enforcing the laws, do you think things would be different?
What I know is that the police were out there for the entire time. Senator Lucas even said to Chief Green, when the people are trying to say that she did something, she said, call your boss, call Dr. Patton. She was acknowledging that I don't have the authority here. Dr. Patton has the authority. If you don't believe me, call her. So if the police had done their job that day, none of this would have happened. All of this happened because they exacerbated the situation. They didn't de-escalate. They escalated it by arresting these two gentlemen. And so that begat where we are now. So if they had just done their job and de-escalated, like they did the previous day where they said just cover them and everybody go home. And that's what they did. But instead of doing that, they listened to some outside forces in our city. That's why I'm asking the media to do their job. FOIA all of the emails. FOIA between Chief Green and whomever during that period of time. This is the time that we need that fourth estate to do y'all's job. Because if you do your job, you're going to be able to find the breadcrumbs, and it's going to get you back to where you need to be.
We got one more question, New General Guide. This is the last question we'll take. Delegate Scott.
Delegate Scott. Question, Delegate Guide. If the city was so concerned about the Confederate monument, why didn't they use the power of eminent domain to remove it? They could have said it's in the middle of a public street, we want to make improvements. They could have come here, said that argument, the monument would have been gone.
That's a good question. I think you need to go run for city council. But yeah, there's a lot of things they could have done, but this is where we are now. And so it's important that we stay vigilant about how we move forward. And right now we know that there are people who didn't do their jobs that's trying to hold other people accountable. And the only reason they're doing it now, don't be fooled. This is for political purposes only. Their motives are for politics only. They issued these warrants the day before the most powerful black woman in the history of the state of Virginia was going into special session. That is the day that they decided to issue these. Isn't that a little suspicious? Don't you have an idea about what was going on at that time? That is what they have done over time. We will not fall for it, not this time. Not this time. We see it. It's very apparent. They're not hiding it. They issued the warrants the day she on her way up to Richmond and they issued them. It's chaos. So we know what's going on and we're prepared for it. We've made for this moment. We're made for this moment.
Again, thank you so very much. Thank you to the media for sharing in this time of press conference. And we look forward to all of our people getting out to vote on November the 3rd. There is a Martin Luther King Jr. Leadership Steering Committee, a ballot that you will receive, and we look forward for you supporting our candidates. Thank you. Have a great evening.